I went into complete panic mode, and he got me by the scruff and he was like, you need to get your shit together. Hey sailors, welcome back to Cruising Us Crew. My name is Lucy, and today we are going to be talking about your STCW qualification that you might need to get if you are going to work on board a cruise ship. Some cruise lines are going to do an STCW qualification on board, and some cruise lines expect you to have an STCW qualification before you get on board. So when I worked for Royal Caribbean and P&O, I did my STCW qualification while I was on board, and then when I started working for Virgin Voyages, they told me that I needed to do an STCW qualification before I got on board. I was like, why? I've never done one on land before. I wonder why that's a thing. Oh, now I know. So STCW stands for Standards of Training, Certification and Watchkeeping for Seafarers. That is a mouthful, but yes, that is what STCW stands for. And basically, within this qualification, you are going to learn firefighting, lifeboat safety, everything you'll find in a lifeboat and a life raft, basic first aid, about security and piracy on a ship, and water safety. When you do the STCW on board a cruise ship, the best way I could describe it is it's like theoretical. It's theory. You are in a classroom on the ship and they are telling you what to do if, you know, the ship sinks and you're in the ocean, or they're telling you how to fire an extinguisher, and they'll take you out and they'll show you how to shoot a fire extinguisher. So I had learned all this stuff in theory, but doing my STCW on land was the first time that I actually got to put this stuff into practice. And oh my God, does it make a difference. An STCW qualification is going to be around about £800 to £900, so it is not cheap. However, the skills that you will learn are invaluable. So I did my STCW down in Bristol at the Southwest Maritime Academy, so I will link that down below and you can check it out. They were fantastic. So if you are looking to do an STCW qualification, I would highly recommend it. And it was a 5-day course. So I did my STCW in the middle of December, just before I joined Virgin Voyages, and there was a big group of us who did it all together. There was about 15 of us who were all going on Virgin Voyages to work in the shops. So it was actually a really good bonding experience for us because we got to fight fires and nearly drown together. So we're well bonded now. The first thing we did was firefighting. So the first 2 days were spent firefighting. Obviously, we started by doing the theory. You have to have a little bit of theory knowledge before you just go into a fire. But after you've got the basic theory, then you are taken to do the practical stuff. The first thing was to actually get in the fire gear. So we had to learn about the BA equipment, how to put it together, how to put it on, how it works so that you can breathe, how to put the fire gear on, how to turn the oxygen on, how to stop the mask fogging up. So after we had ran through putting the breathing apparatus on, I think then we took it all off, and then we had lunch, and then after lunch we had to come back down and put it all back on again without any help. Obviously we had a little bit of, you know, pointing in the right direction, but for the most part they expected us to be able to do it ourselves. So I'll insert a clip now of me putting the stuff on to get ready to go and fight a fire. As you can see, it's really fiddly, and it's so easy to talk about fighting a fire in a classroom and it's all theoretical, but when you have got all that heavy stuff on and you actually have to go and fight a fire, you're like, oh shit, this is okay. Now, you will not be expected to put on your BA and your firefighting kit if there's a fire on board a cruise ship. There will be people on board to fight a fire. However, they have to ensure that everyone is prepared for the worst case scenario. So all the firefighting team perish. You have got to be able to step in their place, and you've got to be able to know what to do. Because the thing is, you might be the person on a cruise ship who finds the fire. So if it's a dustbin fire and you can put it out and stop it spreading to a massive fire, then that's obviously ideal, rather than you being like, oh, it's a fire, I'm just going to call the fire team. Because by the time the fire team have got their stuff on and got to the fire, it's a raging fire that could endanger the lives of the passengers on board. This is why you have to learn about firefighting. So we're all stood outside, as you can see in that video, waiting to go in and fight this fire, and it's really scary because you put the mask on and it all fogs up because of the temperature difference, so you can't actually see anything, and everyone's shouting at each other like, move forward, go into the fire, and it's really scary. So I'm gonna insert a little clip of the fire that we had to fight. What happened is we had to go up some stairs into this door, and then we had to climb down a ladder into the bunker where the fire was, and each take it in turns to put the fire out. When you go into this bunker, it is pitch black, it's sweltering hot, you can't see a bloody thing. It's terrifying. For someone who's never fought a fire before, or even seen a fire apart from like a bonfire, I was like, holy shit. And then, you know, when you get close to the fire and you're trying to put it out, it's so hot, and they really put the emphasis on how important it is to work as a team. Because you can't see, because it's pitch black, it's really important that you keep communicating with each other to make sure that everyone's still there, because you might think that you've got someone behind you, but if they've buggered off, you know, you need to keep communicating. But anyway, I'm going kind of off topic. But the point is, after going into that bunker where it was pitch black, we had to climb ladders with that kit on. I was so scared. After putting out that fire, I feel like I would be able to put out a dustbin fire or a small fire if I found one in my house or on a cruise ship. Whereas when you're in a classroom on a cruise ship learning about a fire, that's very different to when you discover a fire and you're expected to just to put your knowledge into practice. Whereas if you've already put it into practice with quite a big fire, then you're more likely to be able to cope with it. So now I'll insert some pictures of us doing the firefighting task. Now, although fighting this fire was so scary, there was a massive sense of accomplishment that we all had once we've done it, because all of us, you know, we'd never put on firefighting gear, we'd never fought a fire, we'd never rolled up a hose or used a fireman's hose or done any of that. So it was a huge accomplishment to say, you know, we did that, and we were really scared, but we all pulled together and worked as a team to do it. So although we were all scared shitless, it was brilliant, because it really gave us all a rush and such a massive sense of accomplishment. It's kind of like a roller coaster. After you've done it once, you're like, I want to do it again. After the firefighting, I think the next days were spent doing like basic first aid, how to put on a bandage, what to do if you find someone who's unconscious, or if someone's been in a car crash. Or I know a car crash on a cruise ship is, you know, but honestly, the stuff that we learned in this course, they weren't just things that you can apply when you're on a cruise ship. Like, they were life skills. You know, if my house catches fire, God forbid, I feel like I could put it out, or I would know what to do, or I would know how to handle it. If I found someone who had been in a car crash, I'm not saying that, you know, I'm a nurse or a doctor, but I would be better equipped to handle it with the skills that I now have from this course. If I found someone that was unconscious, I would know what to do. So it does make you feel like way more in control of your life, because you're like, yeah, I know how to handle these like really bad situations. We also learned about safety on cruise ships and like piracy. So obviously piracy is quite rare, but it still is a thing. When I was on my first ship going from Australia to the Med, we came through the Arabian Gulf, and anyway, there was pirates, but it was, we were all fine. But we have to learn about piracy, security on a cruise ship. I mean, they're ships with thousands of people on, so you really need to know about security, and if someone looks a bit shifty, how to deal with it, or if you find something that's a bit odd, how to deal with it. And of course, water safety. So it is a cruise ship, it does have the potential to sink, or even if it doesn't sink, catch fire, and there is always a chance that you might have to abandon ship. Now, of course, that is the worst and last case scenario, but you have to be prepared for all eventualities. So first things first, we went through lifeboats and life rafts, what you can expect to find in them in terms of food, water, flares, fishing gear, all different types of stuff that you would find in a lifeboat or life raft. But of course, we also have to learn about water safety. Sometimes, I mean, really the worst case scenario, that you won't get in a life raft or lifeboat while the ship is still afloat, and you'll end up in the water swimming to a life raft or lifeboat or whatever. So the practical for this was to get in the water, and we had to stay in the water for a long period of time, learn how to, you know, be okay in the water, and then get in a life raft that was the wrong way up, basically. Now, as I've said, I was doing this STCW qualification in the middle of December in England, and a lot of STCW qualifications use a swimming pool for the water safety aspect. We went in a quarry in the middle of December. I don't like being cold. I'll put a few pictures in now of us doing our water safety, and then I'll go through it. Got our immersion suits on and looked like giant Teletubbies, and then we all had to jump in the water. There is a correct way to jump in the water, so we had to demonstrate that we knew how to do that. Then we all had to, you know, swim on our backs, because that's the best way to swim, so you exert the least amount of energy. We all had to try and get together. There's a picture of us all in a big ring, because if a helicopter flies over, they're more likely to see a big ring of people than just one person bobbing around in the water. So we learned all of these different techniques to do in the water, but it was so cold. I mean, I think I actually had a bit of a leak in my immersion suit, so the water got in. I mean, I've never been so cold in my life, and I did start to freak out because everyone seemed okay, and I was like, am I just being a massive wimp here? Like, I'm not okay. Well, the guy came up to me because he was going around everyone checking that they were all right, and I was like, I'm gonna die, like I'm so cold. And I went into complete panic mode, and he got me by the scruff and he was like, you need to get your shit together, because if you were like in the ocean, you can't get out. You need, like, this is it. And I was like, oh my god, okay. But I was in tears. I was so cold. I think I was getting freaked out because I couldn't feel my feet or my hands, because obviously the blood circulation goes to, you know, your main organs. So I was like, I can't do anything because I can't feel my fingers or my toes. And it was absolutely terrifying. But you know what? Looking back, I'm so glad that that happened, because God forbid I never have to get in the sea and the ship never sinks and whatever. But if it does, I feel like I would be more likely to handle it better now, because I've already gone into panic mode in a controlled environment, and I know how to handle it and to snap myself out of it. Whereas if you've never done that before, and then you end up in freezing waters, you just go into panic mode and you die. I think that was the biggest thing for me, where I was like, yes, everyone should do this course before they go on a cruise ship, because learning about how to deal with freezing cold water in a classroom is different to learning about it when you're in freezing cold water, you know, because if you ever end up in that situation again, hopefully it'll all kick in and you'll be like, okay, this is what I need to do, because you'll have something to refer back to it. Whereas no, you're not going to be like, oh, what did I learn in the classroom? It's just not going to happen when you're in, you know, if you were in the sea, something shit's happened, so you're already freaked out and in a really bad state of mind, and then you add freezing cold water to that, you're not going to be thinking about the lesson that you had with one of the officers. It's just not happening. So that was my experience with the STCW, and you know what? It was so hard. I mean, the firefighting gear was so heavy. I was aching for like 3 weeks after the STCW gear, because I was like, I've used muscles I didn't know I had. The cold water experience traumatized me a little bit, but all in all, it was such a good week. The adrenaline was pumping. The people that I was doing it with, we really bonded, because obviously, you know, you put people in traumatic or scary experiences together and you're going to bond better with them. So I feel like we got really close on that course. So it's really good. If you can do your STCW with the people that you're going to be working with, I would highly recommend that. Because when we did the firefighting bit, there were people who were freaking out about that, and it gave the people like myself who weren't freaking out about it, like, it's, you know, chance to reassure them, be like, you know, it's gonna be okay, like, we'll be fine, we can do this. And then, like, when I was freaking out in the water and other people weren't, they had a chance to comfort me, and it just brought everyone closer together. So although an STCW qualification is a lot of money, it's well worth it. The life skills that I've learned, and also the skills that I can take on a cruise ship, are they're brilliant. So if you get an opportunity to do an STCW qualification, do it 100%. As I said, I will leave the link to the place that I did mine down below. They were fantastic if you're in the UK. Maybe don't do it in December though, but you know, that's your choice. But thank you so much for watching. I really hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have any questions about the STCW, if you want another video on it, if you want me to go into detail about anything, please let me know in the comments and I'll get back to you. But please press subscribe and press the like button, because it really helps me out with the algorithm stuff. But thank you again for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic day.